It happens in a quiet moment you almost miss. You're holding your phone staring at a conversation that suddenly feels different. The person who once filled your day with messages has gone silent. Your mind begins racing. Should you check in? Should you ask what's wrong? For a second, your fingers move toward the keyboard and then you stop. You feel something inside you pause, something steady that wasn't there before. Instead of chasing the silence, you put the phone down and breathe. In that moment, something powerful begins to happen inside you. Most people would look at that moment and think nothing happened. But in reality, that pause is often the first sign that an empath is beginning to heal. Later in this video, I'm going to explain something that surprises many people. When an empath truly heals, the way others behave around them starts to change almost immediately. Some people grow closer. Others slowly fade away. And it's not because you become cold or distant. It's because the energy you bring into relationships becomes stronger and clearer than before. I'll show you exactly why that shift happens. There's also another truth we'll uncover together. When an empath heals completely, they stop chasing explanations from people who create confusion. That single change alone reshapes every relationship in their life. Many people think empathy means always reaching out, always fixing things, always keeping the connection alive. But healing reveals something deeper, something most people never talk about. You see, empaths are often taught directly or indirectly that love means effort without limits. If someone pulls away, you check in. If someone is distant, you give them understanding. If someone hurts you, you search for the reason behind their behavior so you can forgive them. At first, this looks like kindness, and in many ways it is. But over time, without boundaries, empathy becomes exhausting. You start carrying emotional weight that was never yours to carry. You begin trying to repair dynamics that someone else helped create. You give explanations where silence would have revealed far more truth. And this is where healing begins to introduce a new kind of strength. Silence. Silence feels uncomfortable for an empath because you care deeply. When someone becomes distant, your instinct is to close the gap. Your mind searches for ways to restore harmony. Maybe you misunderstood something. Maybe they're going through a hard time. Maybe if you just reach out, everything will feel normal again. But there's something most people learn only after many painful cycles. Chasing someone who is pulling away changes the balance of the relationship. It may feel like love, but it often lowers your position without you realizing it. When you chase, you send a quiet message that the connection matters more to you than your own emotional stability. You signal that distance will always be followed by your effort to close it. Over time, that pattern quietly erodes respect. Not because the other person is cruel, but because relationships respond to energy. When one person consistently pursues and the other consistently retreats, the dynamic becomes uneven. One person carries the emotional weight while the other simply responds when it feels convenient. A healed empath begins to recognize this pattern. And instead of reacting immediately, they learn to pause. They learn to observe. They learn to allow space to reveal what words often hide. This is where your emotional spine begins to form. It's not loud, it's not aggressive. It's quiet strength. And it's guided by a simple line you can return to whenever the urge to chase appears. Your peace is not the price of connection. Let that settle for a moment. Your peace is not the price of connection. When you truly understand that sentence, your behavior changes in subtle but powerful ways. You stop rushing to repair every silence. You stop explaining yourself repeatedly to people who are not listening. You stop chasing clarity from those who prefer confusion. And something interesting happens when you do this. Space begins to work in your favor. When you stop filling every emotional gap, the truth of the relationship has room to appear. Someone who values the connection will step forward. Someone who depended on your constant effort may grow uncomfortable with the new balance. Either way, clarity begins to surface. Now, holding silence is not easy at first. Your mind will argue with you. It will create reasons to reach out. It will convince you that good people always fix things immediately. But healing teaches you a different kind of wisdom. Sometimes the most respectful thing you can do for yourself and for the relationship is nothing. Just observe. Just breathe. Just allow time to reveal what effort alone cannot. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop abandoning yourself in order to prove that you care. And the moment you begin practicing that pause, that calm distance when something feels off, the real shift of a healed empath begins. Because the healed empath is not the one who feels less. It's the one who finally understands where their energy truly belongs. And in the next part of this conversation, we're going to explore something even deeper. We'll look at what actually happens in the other person's mind when an empath stops chasing and starts stepping back, and why that single change often transforms the entire dynamic of a relationship. When you step back, the shift that happens is deeper than most people realize. From the outside, it may look simple. You stop sending the message. You stop checking in. You stop trying to smooth over the distance. But psychologically, something much bigger begins to unfold. Relationships run on patterns, invisible rhythms that both people participate in, often without noticing. One person becomes quiet, the other reaches out. One person pulls away slightly, the other moves closer to restore the balance. Over time, this pattern becomes automatic. If you are someone who feels deeply, there is a good chance you have been the one maintaining that rhythm. You sensed tension quickly. You responded quickly. You repaired emotional gaps before they had time to grow. That instinct came from care. But when healing begins, you realize something important. Constantly stabilizing the relationship is exhausting. It keeps you in a position where your emotional energy is always working to maintain something that should be shared. So when you step back, you interrupt that pattern. And the human mind always notices when a pattern suddenly changes. The message that used to arrive no longer appears. The reassurance they were used to receiving is suddenly absent. The emotional bridge you once built automatically is no longer there. At first, the other person may not consciously understand what feels different, but their attention begins to shift. They begin to notice the silence, and something interesting happens inside the mind when attention returns to something that used to feel guaranteed. Curiosity grows. Questions appear quiet. Why hasn't she reached out? Did something change? Is the connection still there? This is the psychology of stepping back. You are not forcing someone to care. You are simply removing the constant effort that once made the connection feel effortless to them. Space allows awareness to return, but this stage can be uncomfortable for you, because the same silence that creates clarity also activates old habits inside your mind. You may find yourself reaching for your phone without thinking. Your mind might start building explanations. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they're waiting for you to check in. Maybe if you just say something small, everything will feel normal again. This is where your emotional discipline begins to grow. The goal is not to suppress the urge. The urge is natural. The goal is to pause before turning the urge into action. A simple practice helps here. When the desire to text or call appears, give yourself time. 24 hours if possible. Let the emotion move through your body before you decide what to do with it. Most impulses lose their intensity when they are given space. Another helpful practice is to write the message without sending it. Open a note or a journal and say everything you want to say. Be honest. Be emotional. Let the thoughts come out fully. Very often you will discover that the act of expressing the feeling is enough to calm the nervous system. You needed release, not necessarily a response. Movement also helps more than people realize. Go outside, walk, stretch, exercise. Your body carries emotional tension and movement helps discharge it. A calm body leads to a clearer mind. And during these moments, return to the line that keeps your emotional spine steady. Your peace is not the price of connection. Repeat it quietly when your mind starts negotiating with itself. Repeat it when the silence feels uncomfortable. Repeat it when the old habit of chasing tries to return. Your peace is not the price of connection. This line protects you from slipping back into patterns that once drained your energy. As you practice this new way of responding, something begins to change in your daily life. Your focus slowly shifts away from monitoring someone else's behavior and returns to your own world. Your mornings become calmer because you are no longer waking up looking for reassurance. Your evenings feel lighter because your mood is no longer tied to someone else's attention. You start investing energy into things that actually strengthen you. Your physical health, your work, your passions, your friendships with people who show up consistently, your personal growth. A healed empath does not spend their days waiting for emotional signals from someone else. They build a life that generates its own stability. And as that stability grows, your presence begins to feel different to the people around you. You are calmer. You react less quickly. You observe more. Some people will feel drawn to that grounded energy. Others may feel uncomfortable because they were used to the version of you who always rushed in to repair things. Both reactions tell you something important. And through all of it, keep returning to your spine line. Your peace is not the price of connection. Say it when you feel tempted to chase clarity. Say it when someone suddenly reappears after distance and expects everything to return instantly. Say it when your empathy tries to convince you to sacrifice your boundaries again. Your peace is not the price of connection. When you live by that principle consistently, the entire emotional structure of your relationships begins to shift, and soon something very important will happen. The silence will either break or it will continue. In the next part, we're going to talk about both possibilities and how a healed empath responds when someone returns after distance. and how they move forward with dignity if that person never comes back at all. Eventually, the silence reaches a turning point. Time passes, space settles in, and the connection either begins to move again or it slowly fades into the background of your life. Both outcomes tell you something important, and both are part of the healing process. Sometimes the person returns. A message appears. A call comes through. Maybe they act as if nothing happened, or maybe they suddenly seem more attentive than before. In that moment, many people feel a rush of relief. The tension that built during the silence finally releases, and the mind wants to restore the old closeness immediately. But this is the moment where your growth matters most, because healing was never about making someone come back. Healing was about changing how you show up in the connection. So when someone returns, you slow down, you do not rush to fill the space, you do not pretend the distance never happened. You stay calm, grounded, and observant. Real change is revealed through consistency, not through a single message or apology. This is where boundaries begin to guide you. Boundaries are not walls meant to push people away. They are quiet lines that protect your emotional stability. You communicate clearly about what you need in order for the relationship to move forward in a healthy way. Then you watch what happens. Do their actions match their words over time? Do they show up with the same effort you once gave so freely? Do they respect the space you created, or do they try to return to the old dynamic where you carried most of the emotional weight? This is why pace matters so much. When you move slowly, truth has time to reveal itself. And whenever doubt appears, return to your spine line. Your peace is not the price of connection. That sentence keeps you grounded when old habits try to return. It reminds you that closeness should never require sacrificing your emotional balance. When someone truly values your presence, they will respect that clarity. But sometimes the silence continues, sometimes the message never comes. Days stretch into weeks, and eventually you realize the connection is no longer active in the way it once was. At first, that realization can feel heavy. The mind searches for explanations. You might replay conversations, wondering if something could have been said differently. But over time, something deeper becomes clear. Silence reveals truth either way. If someone values the connection, space eventually motivates them to reach out. Distance makes them aware of what might be lost. Effort appears. When someone remains silent, that too is a message. It may not be spoken, but it is real. Their absence shows you the level of importance the connection held for them. Accepting that truth is not weakness, it is dignity. Closure does not require a perfect conversation or a final explanation. Closure comes from accepting what someone's actions have already shown you. Once that acceptance settles in, your energy begins to return to where it belongs. Back to your life, back to your goals, your health, your friendships, and the relationships where effort flows both ways. Instead of waiting for clarity from someone else, you create clarity through the way you live. And the more you practice this, the stronger your emotional foundation becomes. You no longer fear silence. You no longer rush to repair every moment of distance. You understand that the right connections will meet you with equal presence. Your peace is not the price of connection. Let that line guide the way you move forward. So let's bring everything together. When someone pulls away, chasing them weakens your position and drains your energy. Silence, when it comes from self-respect, creates space for the truth of the relationship to surface. Stepping back interrupts unhealthy patterns and reveals whether the connection has real balance. If the person returns, you respond with boundaries, patience, and clear standards. You observe their consistency before rebuilding closeness. If they do not return, you accept the message their silence already delivered and move forward with dignity rather than confusion either way. Silence reveals truth. And once you understand that, relationships stop feeling like emotional puzzles you must solve. They become clearer, calmer, and far more honest. Here is one simple action you can start today. The next time someone creates emotional distance, resist the immediate urge to chase clarity. Instead, give yourself one full day of pause before responding. During that time, focus on something that strengthens you. Move your body, write your thoughts down. Spend time with people who bring calm into your life. And quietly remind yourself of your spine line. Your peace is not the price of connection. Practicing that pause builds a kind of strength that transforms how you experience relationships. Because the healed empath is not someone who stops caring. The healed empath is someone who finally understands where their care truly belongs. Stand in that calm strength. Protect your peace. Let people reveal who they are through their actions, not through the promises you hope they will keep. And if you want to understand the early signs that reveal when a relationship is becoming emotionally unbalanced long before silence ever appears, watch the next video where we explore the patterns most empaths miss until it's too late.